Welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today, I'm back, and I'm hanging out with Brian again. Brian, where's everybody been lately?
I don't know.
I mean, nobody's showing up. We're not having a good time. We've not been at the Brock Bourbon Bar, so I think that's where part of the problem's coming in. But
I know, I miss them, and I want them to be able to do and talk about the things that we'll talk about.
Absolutely,
because it's we all have a story, we all have our reasons, we all have the moments when the bug or the whiskey bug, the whiskey barrel, the whiskey thief. What would it be like the moment in which you're like, I totally understand why people love this stuff.
It's weird when you sit back and look at whiskey, right, or bourbon, or and I'm saying I'm going to use whiskey as the generic term for most of this episode, and it's because I really love rye, I really love bourbon, I really like American whiskey. So, but they're all whiskey, but they're not all bourbon, they're not all rye. So I'm just going to use the word whiskey as the general rule for today. What gives you those barrel strength feelings? What makes whiskey special to each one of us? And, this is probably a conversation we could have with everybody, but you kind of was like, hey, man, let's talk a little bit more about this. And then when you said that, it made me start thinking, like, what is whiskey? What does it mean to me? And why am I such a fan of it?
Yeah, and part of this is that one of the things that Johnny Tsunami will always ask, in a zombie apocalypse, what is that bottle of whiskey that you'd want to have? I was trying to do the voice guy of the movies, right, and I wasn't even close.
Yeah, that's fine. But is it so much that as it is the experience?
Well, yeah, but I think you can have an experience with a bottle one time, and every time you tap into the bottle, you have a pour. You kind of go back to that point in time. Like if you look at a baseball card that you got when you were 6,
right,
you're going to go back to the feels that you had when you were 6. You're going to go back to where you were, to who you were with. And so many times, if I'm sitting in my basement office having a pour, I will turn my chair around and look at the bottles that are open. And so many of those I can look at. And just like the movie With Honors with Joe Pesci.
Okay.
Amazing how he had his little sack, for lack of a better word, that had a bunch of stones. Each stone was a memory that he had. He knew who he was with, where he was, and what he was feeling. A lot of bottles that I have are that identical thing, and that I know exactly where I was when I bought it. I know whom I was with when I opened it. And it's like a little snapshot in history.
It's a walk down memory lane.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes they're wonderful and they're pleasing and they're memorable, for all the right reasons. Then other times, like a little bit of sadness or never remorse. Like I'm not one that'll ever open whiskey because I'm pissed off.
Right.
Like I enjoy opening bottles more so when I'm with people.
Yep.
Especially if they're excited about it.
Yeah.
Because then that, the book, The Go-Giver, I'm very much an advocate for allowing somebody, or helping somebody have an experience that they didn't realize what was possible. And just, I don't know, it's a beautiful way of sharing.
100%.
And in the whole, how whiskey is also referred to as a spirit. I'm a firm believer in that. There are so many, when you walk through an old rick house, there's a lot of stuff that has happened there throughout the years. And you kind of get the feels and you kind of get the smells. And as you're walking through, it's cold, you get the tingle, you get so many things. And I just think that a lot of stuff happens or began as a result of what may be in a bottle of whiskey.
Those are all fair things to say. I will say that I feel like whiskey is one of those things that being attached to those memories or to those thought processes or to those times or to a time when something was different for you also helps in those situations. It's funny, I was a massive Magic the Gathering player. At one point I was ranked nationally, went to Gen Cons, different things, played in tournaments, all that kind of stuff. And I'm talking this was mid-90s, 95, 96, around that time frame. I cannot remember a time when I was collecting something to where I found more joy than when I went back and bought a starter deck of beta Magic cards a few years after they had been released, and I'd found a guy that had a box of them for sale, and I bought a couple of starter decks, and I pulled Power 9, and I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I get that same feeling when I find a bottle of whiskey I've been looking for. So it's really weird how you say, right, yeah, there's different things where emotion is tied to these things, right? And I think that's where part of it goes too, right? Is the emotional connection that you feel to things, and then also the emotional excitement you get when you're looking for something that you haven't had yet and you find it. So there's a lot of joy that goes with that, along with the interpersonal connection that you have with it.
Yep. Yeah. And I know that you are wired the same. I get even more joy when I find a bottle that somebody else has been looking for.
Yes. 100%.
So a number of years ago, I was at Evergreen Liquors, the one that is off Evergreen in Middletown, and I got there early in the morning. It was their annual, I forget what they call it, their annual, where they had hundreds of bottles. And I waited in a line for a couple hours. They probably called my name maybe 70th, and there was really nothing that was there that I had to have. But a friend of mine, wanted a particular bottle, and they had it, and it was a bottle that I would have gotten made fun of because it was part of a series where they were always lost or they were always found. And Diageo always happened to have these barrels that came out of nowhere. And it was one of the releases. And it was nothing that I ever would have bought for myself. But for whatever reason, different Travis, not Team Money.
Gotcha.
A different one. He came to mind. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I'm going to get this for him.
There you go.
Because, he had always said, hey, if I ever see one, because he thought that because I had more bottles than he did, he thought I had all these relationships and that I had all this clout and that I could get anything that I want. I'm like, that is...
The furthest from the truth.
Exactly. But they had that. And there were other bottles that I would have appreciated, but I know that this is one in particular that he really, really wanted. So I got that bottle. And as I went up there and picked it up, some of the bourbon snobbery kind of looked at me with a roll of the eyes and the lifting of the nose. I could not believe that I picked a bottle from that series.
Right.
And I could give two shits.
Right.
Because in my mind, I'm like, I cannot wait to get outside.
You were doing it for somebody else.
Yep. I cannot wait to send him, or I can't wait to send him a text, hey, are you home? And he's like, yeah. So then I went and dropped it off.
There you go.
And he's like, oh my God. And then coincidentally, he gave me one of my favorite Four Roses picks of all time is one that he did with Dixon. And it is one of my favorite Four Roses picks that I've ever had. And I've only had one bottle of it, and it still isn't gone. So me creating... I can't say, I don't know if I created a memory for him, but I kind of helped check the box of something that he wanted bad. He shared something that was very special to him. I think without realizing what it was or what that meant to me. And I still have that Four Roses, and it's freaking delicious.
There you go. All right. So we have 3 bottles that we're going to taste while we're talking about what makes bourbon special to us or what makes whiskey special to us. One, it looks like is a Maker's Cask Strength 46, 110.8 proof. It says it's distilled aged bottle, blah, 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 Maker's Mark. This is a bottle that you don't see every day, so I'm going to let you talk a little bit more about that. Then we've got an 18-year Barton single barrel that will be released sometime in the near future by one of the groups. And then the last one is a Blanton's straight from the barrel. And this one's dumped in 2016, so you've had this for a hot minute. So we'll talk about these and then talk a little bit why these are special, but then why whiskey is special to us.
Yep. So I won't say I'll correct you. We're not tasting. I guess we're sharing a pour.
There you go.
By all means, like when you're with friends, family, or whoever it may be, and you were drinking out of the same bottle, it is much more of a sharing something with the other person. And like the 2 bottles that I brought are, I would say, like the most important bottles that I have in everything.
Really?
Yep. And once we get to the third one, I'll share more about that and also like what it's done for me and maybe done for others. So my mother passed away January 11th, 2016.
Okay.
If you look at that end bottle.
That is the date.
Yep, that is the date that is on there. My buddy Tim came in town so January 11th was a Monday. He came in that previous Wednesday. The morning my mother passed away, I was in the room with her, and it was early in the morning. And I called my friend. I only called Tim, and I called my wife Gina and said, "Hey, my mother has passed away." And Tim is like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And it was 363 days after his father passed away. So his father passed away January the 13th of 2015.
That's crazy how oddly close they were to the day.
Yep. And his father was his everything. He, by all means, and we're eating chips, and they're freaking delicious. What are they? They are Kettle brand made with avocado oil and sea salt. It's the perfect cleanser.
I can't believe you're telling on me. Like, I don't think anybody heard that.
Dude, I could hear it. I'm going to do the same thing.
Oh, did you hear it?
Oh, yeah. No. So, yeah, you all were here chewing for me in the background as well because they're freaking delicious. Okay. So my buddy Tim.
The worst part is nobody will ever hear it because I will edit it out.
Oh, my gosh. I know. Damn it.
Because it's on my mic, so I can just seal my mic off for while you're talking.
Damn it. Okay. So, Tim, and to me, like most men, we have those 3 or 4 friends.
For sure.
Yep. The 2 a.m. friends, the 3 a.m. friends, and there's always the one, they never want to know what happened. They always say, what do you need?
Yep.
And Tim's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, dude, let's go to Maker's Mark. So, like, and I shared this story with Thomas when we were out there a little bit. Like, Nick, the first time that he and I, Thomas Bolton from Makers.
Right. When we would have the conversation with him.
Yeah, beautiful human being.
Yep.
So when he and I talked for the first time, while we were on the phone, I walked into my garage and I picked up this bottle. Mike, would you mind if I shared a little story with you on what Makers is for me? He's like, please. And I shared like what the bottle was. So the day that my mother passed away, Makers Mark Castraith had been recently released in the gift shop. It was only available. So it was released in 2015. I don't know the exact month. I wish I did. But I went there January the 11th of 2016, and they had them. It was a 6-bottle limit, and I bought 6 bottles of it, and I dipped them myself. My buddy Tim also bought some bottles for him. He bought a bottle to so me being the very particular person that I am, I can't buy a bottle to commemorate somebody unless it has a direct tie to it.
Okay.
But for him, like you do you, boo,
Yep.
as you would say.
That's fair.
So every major event that has happened in life since then, I've had a little sip of either this one or another bottle. And it's, even so, Tim, August 20th, I believe, is 5 years since my buddy Tim passed away. So after I heard that he passed away, I had a little pour, like just to commemorate him. And I found out a couple of days after he passed away from his significant other, and then I went in town. Myself and 2 of his other very, very close friends, and we helped clean out his stuff. And I brought the bottle with me. And the one person there didn't drink. The other 2 were like, well, I don't really drink bourbon. And they had it as a shot. But, like I would typically want to call somebody out, but I just let it go.
That's right.
Because they're like, oh, it's so hot.
Yeah. No, listen, I get it.
Yep. So, and even this past year, on his 5-year death anniversary, for lack of a more non-feelings kind of word, I had another little sip with him. It's like, so that's what that particular bottle is to me. It's something that I dipped myself the day that my mother passed away, that I've had for pretty much every major, whether it be great or kind of a sad moment. I've had a little pour of that. So that's what that Makers 46 375 bottle is for me.
Well, now I feel bad because the one I brought was just something that was super unique, that I was like, hey, this is something that I think would be a special pour to share with somebody. And yours actually have like the whole fills behind it and everything.
Again, so one of the things that I know that I'm not great at is I can express a feeling, but I do not walk people through what it is that I'm expecting on their behalf.
That's fair. That's fair. That 100% get it.
But
I would have brought a different, I would have brought something that was more appropriate based on the other bottles that you brought. That's all I'm saying.
No. So I hope we can have an episode like this in the near future where we can have more of us from the podcast around, because I love these moments. Obviously I love to talk, but I don't mind. I don't mind sharing my feelings. I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
I'm not a high fiver. Dude, if I could put that as a bumper sticker.
I'm a hugger, not a high fiver.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
I mean, put it on a t-shirt.
Yes, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Fair enough. So, but this Makers is good. I mean, it's crazy that's when Makers Cask Strength was released, was, just a few months before your mother passed. And then somebody found a bottle that had the exact same date, but this is solid. It's a good pour. And
there's a whole story behind my second one as well. I mean, it's an interconnected story, within the whole world of whiskey. It's cool. I mean, it shows the love and the camaraderie and the kindness.
And that's where I was going to kind of pivot for me. That's what really makes whiskey special to me, is the camaraderie. It's the brethren. It's the brotherhood of what whiskey brings to you as a group of friends or as a group of individuals. When people come over to my house and they're we're cracking open stuff left and right, and we're just trying things, and they're like, I can't believe you're open. I'm like, dude, that's what it's for. It's to share. It's to have a shared experience with someone while you're drinking and tasting through those processes.
Yep. And there's so much kindness that is in the world. Granted, there's arrogance and there's all this other stuff, but there is a ridiculous amount of kindness and compassion, and just so the amount of raffles or things that we both participated in over the years. Somebody passes away where they sell bottles to raise money, and they donate bottles that they could sell for hundreds on their own. Right. They donate it. Right. Because the money's going to go to a greater and to a better cause. Right. The kindness is a beautiful thing.
It really is.
It is. Dude, but what you brought, it's also very special in a different way.
It is.
What percentage of people will ever get to try a whiskey? And here's the thing: it's not Pappy.
No, it's not.
No, it's not 70s or 80s stuff. But it's something that's very, very special that very few people will get a chance to try.
Well, yeah. So I brought an 18-year-old Barton, right? I think the most prominent one that most people probably know about today is the Calumets that came out just not that long ago, right? But when you look at these 18-year-old Bartons, like there was a specific company that got a decent chunk of barrels, right? And they're like, hey, to people that are in the industry that might want to do these as single barrels that have supported us in the past, whether it be buying bottles from them or buying other things that we had bottled through them, they gave us the opportunity to come through and taste through these. And this is one that, like, it stood out for a different reason than some of the other ones that we tried. And I was thinking about buying it as a single barrel, but I couldn't find a group of guys to go in on it with me because the price point was so high.
Wait, so when you say price point is so high, so are you paying the same cost for like the buff turkeys?
Right.
Yeah, you basically pay the same cost for a barrel regardless of how much it weighs.
Exactly. So the yield could be 40 bottles, it could be 100 bottles, right? And then the barrels themselves, we'll just say they were north of $10,000. And like I said, you have no idea how many you're going to get. And with it being an 18-year-old whiskey, the probability that you're going to get something between 50 and 80 bottles is probably pretty good.
Dear gosh.
So you're talking about you've got a lot of money tied up in these bottles before you ever even bottle it, pay your excise tax, and all those type of things. So that being said, that's why to me this was it was special. It was an opportunity where we went through, we tried through, I think it was the day we tried through, there were about 18 barrels left. We tried through.
Oh my gosh.
We tried through 14 of them because 4 of them were on hold.
So $180,000+ was there in front of you, just wrapped in wood.
Yeah. So we were trying through these, and like I said, this one to me just kind of, one was a short barrel. It was good. It's going to one of the groups that you and I both well know. The other one, to me, was just more of a mint forward, not really my cup of tea or your cup of tea.
For a mint forward bourbon.
Yes.
I don't know if I've had Barton that is mint forward.
And they were very minty in my opinion.
Do you know if the mash bill is their typical?
It's the old school mash bill.
Really?
Yeah, because it's 18 years old.
So now I wish you had one of a little thing of a minty one. Because now I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I get it, and you'll get a chance because if you
Woo!
go, you're in that group with me. So when they get released, you will have the opportunity to at least buy one. Now I don't know what the price point's going to be, but you'll have the opportunity to buy one. So this one was the one that they were hung up on. They couldn't decide on it. I'm like, you know what, I really like this one, but it was because it was just a different profile than I expect for a typical Barton. So I want you to try it and see what you think, and we'll just kind of go from there.
And also, the Barton doesn't get the love that they deserve.
Not always. Sometimes they're overhyped, though.
Is there a particular release that
So I will say that to me, like the 1792 port finish was good. It's not $900 good or $700 good.
But supply and demand.
I get that. I've got hazmat 14-year-old Bartons at my house.
Nope. Yeah, finish
that people won't buy.
Yeah.
That people literally, and we did those as a barrel pick for a group, and there were people in the group that just wouldn't buy them because they were, it's port finished. But I'm like, literally, everybody and their mom was paying $700 for 100 proof, port finished, 8-year-old 1792. But I give them 14-year-old hazmat, and they act like they're going to be a snob about it.
And I'll raise my hand. I was one of those, and I tried because you had 2 barrels with you. I tried them both.
And you don't have to like it. And you said you don't like wine finishes, right? It's not for everybody. But I guarantee you, a lot of those guys that turned it down were people that are like, "Oh, I love 1792 port."
Oh my!
Because everybody and their mom was on the nuts of that bottle.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I've never. I think I've had heartburn once after drinking whiskey. And it's when I drank half a bottle of the 1792 port. And I was excited to share with my buddy who does not like whiskey, and he does like wine, like by the cask. He's like, man, this is pretty good. So I was excited. So again, so I helped create an experience for him, and I was miserable for the whole next day because I'm like just heartburn galore. I think I went out and bought Tums, which I've never had before.
And the thing I really liked about this one was it was lower proof. And by lower proof, many of them were in the 130s. This one's like 127, and it just dug in a little deeper than what I typically think of when I think of Barton.
So I'll say this: when you have an aged whiskey that's not overaged or over oaked, like they're so good. Like a lot of times the nose doesn't really set you up for what you're going to experience in the palate and the finish.
There's complexity that comes at that age.
Yeah, yep, 100%. And this one on the nose, so it noses a little higher proof than what it is.
It does, but I think Barton does it a lot.
But man, when you take a sip of it, it is and I wish that everybody else was here because they'd be like, hee hee. It is a full mouth experience.
It is.
You get it everywhere. So many whiskeys, it's the side of the tongue, the roof of your mouth, the front of your tongue. It's all those other things. This is like a full experience thing. But it's also one of those whiskeys that is you sip it and you get that. You don't really have words. It's more of a nod of the head. One of those like when you're with friends, you're nodding your head and you're kind of looking around the room like, just like when you fall in public, you kind of you look around to see who sees you.
Yep.
It's almost like when you taste this, you look around to see, like, you guys taste what I'm tasting? Because this is pretty dynamite.
Right.
It's like, so I can assume retail 400-ish.
I mean, that's what it should have sold for.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Agreed.
I was offering it to groups through the guy that was going to bottle it for us and everything else at $300 a piece.
Steal.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that was not making any money. Like, really, it was basically breaking even after you paid for the bottle, barrel, excise tax, everything else. But I wanted to share the experience with people. Like this is a good barrel.
Man, if it had another label on it, yeah, people would $500, $600, $700.
Yeah,
sold,
100%.
sold.
Yeah.
Or if you put a little catchy sticker on it. And I know we're talking about the feels episode, but it's also like still the reality.
Yep.
It's not where it was.
No.
But like there's still marketing and labels sell. I mean, you put a sticker on anything, you add 25% to it.
You put a sticker, and if you put a Lego dude with some wax on there, like it's astronomically different.
And I'll say, so Evergreen still has 2 charity barrel picks, LMPD, and one is a Russell's Reserve. They still have cases and cases and cases at $90 a bottle.
Really?
And it is so good.
Huh.
But like there's no sticker, there's no little emblem, it's just a little teeny tiny thing on there. Like, and I went the night that they released it, and there was a fair amount of like on duty LMPD people, gentlemen and females.
Right.
And it was awesome. The only way that would have made that more awesome is if I could have bought a bottle, opened a bottle, and shared with them. Like, and their kind of lies, like where all the special is in this. Last week, I was at a store down the street, and they had just released their Old Forester 100 proof. So many of those are so damn good. They're typically $65, and they're phenomenal for exactly what they are. There were 2 active duty seamen. I know, Navy guys. I know, it's got the finger from a lot of people. Never, but yeah. You could tell that they were a little newer to it because they were picking up bottles as they're walking around the store, and they were giddy. Mind you, one was like a 6'2", 245, 5 feet wide, 5 foot 10 inches tall. The other guy looked like he flew planes.
There you go.
He had the Maverick thing going on.
One was a base, one was a flyer. Cheerleading metaphor.
Oh, I know. Yeah, my daughter did cheer for 8 years, and she recently had to retire from it in order to accommodate where she's going to high school. So at the store, I had asked one of the workers there, I'm like, hey, would you mind if would I be able to buy the bottle? Of course, you're good with that, but can I open it and share a pour with these gentlemen? She's like, really? I'm like, absolutely. There was a gentleman there that was pouring tequila, like tastings. And
right.
He was over there. He's like, dude, he's like, let me get you some glasses.
There you go.
Therein lies the kindness. So he brought over glasses. I opened it up. I poured one for both people behind the counter, for the person with tequila, one for me, and 2 for these Navy dudes. And you would have thought that I was giving them $100 bill each.
Yep.
They're like, they're like, thanks, man. I'm like, dude, I'm like, this is what it's about. I'm like, when people are new to things, they have this exuberance, this excitement, this, like a puppy that doesn't have a tail, but they don't realize it.
Yeah.
They were just so, and those 2, they were so damn happy. So I gave this to them. One of the guys did it as a shot, and I wanted to give him shit, but I did not. The other guy gives him a dirty look. He's like, dude, seriously? He's like, man, that's good. He's like, kind of buttery. It was a bigger dude, so I was not gonna say anything.
There you go.
But regardless of how they drank it, it was cool to
watch them experience it.
That
100%.
Yep. Maybe they remember it, maybe they don't. And I see Scott looking down at the time because I just keep on going.
No, I mean, I think that they'll remember it, right? But they're going to remember it for a different reason than you remember it, right? For one, we know military people are near and dear to your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
So being able to share that experience with them was part of the experience for you.
Dude, my inside, I'm like, holy shit.
Right.
I'm like, I was looking around for cameras to see if somebody was setting me up to be a big old dork.
Right. And then number 2, you are like me. You like watching people have an experience with something for the first time. Like I remember Dan, my buddy Dan that lives down the street from me. Dan's been on the show a few times, but I remember introducing him to like barrel strength whiskey. And now, like, he's become such a snob, like, because of barrel strength whiskey. Like, he's like, I don't even know that I like 100 proof whiskey anymore. I don't, and he does, but like, it's just, he really loves like more robust whiskey now at this point. So it's funny when you look at it, how an experience with somebody that treats that experience with the proper respect that it deserves turns the whole experience for everybody.
So it takes an experience and it leaves an impression.
100%.
Yeah. I was talking to my buddy Dan, who's a Kentucky Farm Bureau agent, earlier today, and I was telling him about how this. I'm hosting an event in the near future for people in the real estate industry, whether they're commercial or they're residential, whatever it is. And I'm like, dude, you need to come out. I'm like, your special power is that. And he's like, you know what? Yeah. I'm like, ask the wife. He's like, you know what? She'll understand. He goes, I really haven't thought about like what my special power is. He's like, and I got to tell you, he's like, I really owe a lot of this to you. He's like, because I knew nothing about it, and you would always invite me to your mingles. He's like, you were never judgmental. I'm like the group. He's like, the group was never judgmental. They were always very giving, and they never, and they never criticized. We gave,
they were judging, but it was silently.
So right. So like a lot of guys, our love language is busting other person's balls.
Yes. That dude, I'm the king of this.
Yes, you are. Yep. Yeah, you're like Rocky Balboa. Yeah, busting balls.
Yeah.
And one of the bottles he brought out, he was so excited for, and it was, but he was excited. So like I walked the room, like, dude, you better take a little pour of the bottle. He's like, take a pour. So we all had a little pour of it. He felt so good. And then about a year later, I'm like, Dan, I got to share something with you. Like, that bottle you brought was horrendous. He's like, man, you guys drank half the bottle. I'm like, I don't know if we all drank it, but I'm like, we didn't want to take that away from you. I'm like, because you were excited and you were present and you were appreciative. I'm like, because he's very much the butterfly. He'll float around the room.
Right.
And therein lies the kindness and the generosity of people. Not everybody realizes how good they are and how much, like, what kind of feels they get when they get a chance to share or create an experience for somebody.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yep. I think whiskey people are a lot more in tune with that.
All right.
I don't know what other stuff is.
While we drink this Blanton's, I'll let you give a little bit of story behind it.
Yep.
But while you're telling that story, think in the back of your mind, what is the quintessential moment that you fell in love with whiskey?
Yeah. So I think anybody that really appreciates whiskey, we all know what that exact moment is. It's never a new story. It's one that I've told before. So the story behind this Blanton straight from the barrel is, as I said, 31 minutes ago, and I'm guessing, my mother passed away January the 11th, 2016. There is a person that is in the bottling hall at Blanton's that I've known for a long time. I hadn't met her until March of last year. So we had text message, we had talked on the phone, but had never met each other face to face. This person's child passed away. The person's child passed away before my mother did. June 5th, and I forget the exact date, but if I put some more thought into it, a little more feelings, I could remember the exact date. And I found this out because I had got on Facebook at a stop sign when I was headed to a memorial for a gentleman that was very, very influential in getting me to play volleyball here in Louisville, because I was a newbie. I was older than the typical volleyball player. And Terry, who has since passed away of cancer, he's like, fuck him. He's like, come on out, man. He goes, we play 2 days a week. And I met so many people because of that guy. And I was going to his memorial when I saw that this person's son had passed away. So about 2 months later, I had put a little ISO in search of in a couple of bourbon groups. There were two. Yeah, there were two at the time where we always try to help somebody find a bottle or like an exact date. And it just so happened that there was a Blanton's that had the date that her son passed away. That was on an island in South Carolina. It was the first 11-year Smooth Ambler, because this is when they still had dates on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So there was a Smooth Ambler, and they also had a Blanton's. So
That's just odd, but go ahead.
Yes. And this person was working the day that her son had passed away, and very well may have been on the line when they bottled that Blanton.
That's crazy.
So, yes. So I found one for her. So a couple weeks after my mother had passed away, I had reached out to her to say, hey, my mother passed away. And she goes, oh, darling, because she calls me darling. I'm like, I have an odd ask. I'm like, was anything dumped? In Blanton's, I wish you had a better name than dumped for the date that's on the side of them, because it's a bed outhouse.
I get it, but it's. I mean, I guess it could be a pour date, but yeah, I mean, yeah, they're literally dumping the whiskey out of the barrel. So, but go ahead,
Yep.
rewind.
Yep. So she's like, hey, let me look into this. I'll get back to you. So there were 6 barrels of straight from the Blanton's that was dumped that day. And at the time, up until 2024.
Yeah, these were overseas someplace.
Yeah, exactly. So, and at the time, they did not track the exact market that it went to, only in this case, the countries that it went to. So I posted an ISO for myself. I didn't say the reason why, because to me, I didn't want to use that for people to take an extra look. And of the 6 barrels that were dumped that day, I was able to get bottles from 5 of the 6 barrels.
That's insane.
No shit. One of the gentlemen who's in Germany was able to get 2 of them for me. And then I got the other 3 locally. Because at the time, there were 2 retailers where you could order Blanton's Gold straight from the barrel. And they would only ship to Indiana, not Kentucky. And they happened to have these. So there were 2 of those that I got from one of our friends that lives in Prospect that has worked at Justin's. He happened to have 2 of those.
That's insane.
No shit. I mean, you want to talk about
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was able to get bottles from 5 of the 6 barrels that were dumped. I think I still have 5 bottles in total. I don't know what particular barrels. So this particular one is one that I opened up.
Was it warehouse age?
So I opened this in September of 2023.
Oh, so it's been open a hot minute.
Yep. Yeah, it's a gentleman that I was working with who is out of Cincinnati. His brother had passed away. He had never had a Blanton straight from the barrel, nor had he had a big boy, William the Ruweller. And I had a sample from 2014, which was, I think, the 141. So we went to this little mortgage meetup in Michigan, and I poured him some of that. And I said, hey, dude, this one is for both of us. And I cracked open the Blanton straight from the barrel just to share with him, because we drank the first one, something that he had never had before, to commemorate his brother's passing. And this particular one was to commemorate my mother's passing that I wanted to share with him, because his brother was a lot to him. They were in business together, and a side business together. And it gave me a chance, again, to create an experience for somebody else. And also, gave me the feels and the warmth, because I got a chance to share something very special to me. So, and also the second time that I was allowed to record with you all, this is a bottle that I had brought out to share with everybody as well. And I didn't really get into what it was and the whys, because it was a good night. We had a good time. I didn't want to, because sometimes when you bring out the feels, it brings a little somber to the group. And I didn't talk much about it except, hey, this is something special to me. So that is why that Blanton straight from the barrel dumped January 11, 2016 means a lot to me.
And it's a tasty barrel.
Look at the color.
Yeah, it's got a great color to it. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering how long it's been open.
Yep. Yeah, so it's also one that I'll wrap in paraffin. So when I get home tonight, I'll wrap it in paraffin. That is used for the little bonsai trees. And when you're taking 2 little tree limmy things and putting them together, scrapping, whatever it's called. Yeah. You wrap it around there, then it helps them mend.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's the perfect thing to keep oxidation from taking over. And I haven't had a sip of this or nose this yet. So I'm going to go in for that finally, because
it's solid.
I'm a little hoarse. In straight from the barrel, I've never had one that's amazing, because a 5 or 6 year old whiskey that is that particular mash bill. But again, it's meaningful.
I had one that I thought was really daggone good. It was 131.2 proof, and it was in Switzerland. And I was like, man, this thing is good, really, really, really good.
So your most recent trip?
No. This would have been the second trip we ever did there. So that would have been maybe 10 years ago. And
were they everywhere?
No. It just, I oddly enough, I actually went to an Armagnac bar there, and they had tons of Armagnacs and cognacs, and they had tons of wine, but that's what they were kind of known for, was being, an Armagnac bar. And I was like, well, you got any bourbon? They're like, well, actually we do. We've got about 10 bottles back here. I'm like, okay, so, but with all fairness, that was a lot for a bar in Switzerland.
Were you expecting a Jack Daniel's Black Label, a Jim Beam White Label, Makers?
And they did have Makers and Jack. They did have Makers and Jack.
Amazing. It's everywhere.
They had Bullet. Then he had the Blantons, straight from the barrel. And then what was the other 2 bottles? One was some kind of rye. I don't remember what it was. I probably should remember. And then the last one was it was another something that wasn't easily found, but wasn't totally out of left field to find it. But anyway, the Blantons, I was like, dude, these are impossible to find in the U.S. They don't even release them in the U.S. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, they just don't release them, so we never see them. I said, like, can I get a pour? And he's like, yeah. So I tried it, and honestly, it might have been just the experience of I'd been drinking Armagnac, I'd had a great time, and maybe it just tasted so great because, like, it was really the only good bourbon I had the entire 2 weeks or 9 days I was over there. So, but to me, I just remember that being really good. But as far as that bourbon moment, right? Like,
Wait, hang on. So I want to say something. So for a bottle to be special to you, it doesn't have to be absolutely delicious. Like, to me, like this blends.
no.
Yeah, it's not, but I think that there could be a misconception that if something is special to you, that it must also be absolutely delicious.
It doesn't have to be absolutely delicious. It does help if it's absolutely delicious.
Oh, yes. Yeah, agreed.
But I think the moment when I kind of realized that bourbon whiskey was special to me was probably about 2015, 2016. And me and a group of buddies were just kind of sitting around, and it was just the whole fellowship behind the entire experience of that evening. We were sitting around, we were drinking bourbon, and I realized that, like, I could taste bourbon differently than most other people did. And I think that experience and being able to walk that whole process through my head with them was what made it so unique for me. So,
and when you say unique in that you could vocalize what you were, because I truly believe people that are good at tasting notes, they talk about taste, but they're also, they kind of back it up with feelings.
I back it up with memories.
Yeah, like field grains.
Yes.
Again, like that's the first thing that comes to mind. Well, for me, for you is when you say field greens, like you are never looking straight ahead or looking at anybody. You're always kind of up off to the right.
Right.
It's like you're going back in time.
Yeah.
To field greens.
And that's the way I drink whiskey. Like, when I drink something, I'm tasting it. And then while I'm tasting it, I'm thinking about, like, what does this remind me of? What am I tasting? What is it? And I tie it to those memories. Like I said, like, whenever I tell people, like, when I taste leather, like, it instantly takes me back to being that 8-year-old fat kid that sat in right field chewing on his baseball glove, right? Like,
you're chewing on the string.
Yeah. Chewing on the string on the baseball glove, right?
It's salty.
Salty, dirty. I mean, like, and it's funny, but there was an oily texture to that, right? And then, like, the same thing with, like, when you drinking and you get that sweet note, or when you get something that's spicy or that baking spice, like, it makes me instantly think of other things. And I think once I heard somebody explain tasting notes, it flipped the switch for me, and I was like, I get what you're talking about. So then I started honing that skill, right? Like, I got a nosing kit, and I got this kit, and I started playing around with things. And I think that's why I feel like I have a fairly good palate for picking up certain things. And I feel like I'm really, really good at picking up baking spices specifically because I spent so much time as a baker.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I feel like whiskey for me just became special, because it might have been just because I felt like I was good and I understood what it was and what made it unique, and then B was the experience of the fact that, like, everybody was like, I get that, like that whole, like, sharing that moment with them.
So, like, a couple things that came to mind is you initially used the word tasting, and then you kind of finished it or wrapped everything up, I guess, with an experience. And I really think that as whiskey becomes a little fonder to the heart, yes, we drink whiskey. Yes, we drink sometimes too much whiskey. And and you're not experiencing it when you're just drinking it. But when you're sitting around with people sharing a pour, it's not. To me, it's not a. Yes, it's a tasting when you're talking about, like, particular notes. But oftentimes you're kind of sharing stories or the way that makes you feel or a memory with something. Like, that's one of the things that I love about the group. There's a number of other shows that, we're not going to tell you tasting notes. It's up to you what you taste. Like,
right.
I mean, we talk about feels.
Right.
Like, and this whole episode is about, like, what whiskey has brought out, like, in the feelings category.
Right.
The things that it ties us to, the things that, like, the experiences that we've had ourselves and the experiences that we've been a part of with other individuals. Sometimes they don't even realize it. And, like, today, my buddy Dan is like, Brian, he goes, I didn't realize until the last couple of weeks that a lot of the whiskeys that I enjoy now, I first had with you. Well, or first, he said with me, he meant, like, when I was around, because I may not have brought.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I may not have brought the bottle, but somebody else brought it to share.
Right.
And also, like, the mingles, they were Like they became popular, but it was an invite only because we knew that whatever you brought was going to be respected.
Right.
In every which way.
I tell you that my favorite moment drinking bourbon with you was the day sitting at Old Louisville. And at first, I'll be honest with you, it was one of those things where I was like, oh my God, what is this guy breaking out? Like you just kept breaking out bottles.
Dude, I get excited.
And you do. And listen, that's one of the things I love about you, Brian, is the fact that you get genuinely excited to share that experience with somebody, which I love doing too, right? But like you were just like, you pulled out this one, then you pull out this one. I'm like, dude, we've been drinking whiskey for however long, and then you pull out this Heaven Hill bottle. And that was like the Heaven Year, 13 or?
Oh, yep. So it was a 2015. It's the first time that I paid $130 for a bottle.
Yeah.
2013 Heaven Hill 13-year bottled and bond, and it was the first release, and it has the little copper, like hang tag.
Right. It's like the green label or blue label.
No,
blue.
red
Label.
Yeah, red.
Because we've drank a couple of them together, but I couldn't remember the exact one you did that one day. But like I just remember it being the Heaven Hill bottle, and the fact that we tried it together. Well, you let me try it, and it brought me back to this memory of like, this is what this is about. This is what drinking bourbon is about, what drinking whiskey is about. It's about sharing, the brethren, the fellowship that goes along with that. You know, that's what, to me, more than anything else, it's about good times and fellowship, the brotherhood. Like all those things that go with whiskey is what it truly means to me whenever I am sharing or going through that process. I rarely drink by myself. For me, that's why I think whiskey is so special. It's because for me, it's the opportunity to share an experience with someone.
So for 5 or 6 years, I only opened up new bottles with somebody. It wasn't until I became part of the show, really, when I started opening up things for me. Because a good friend of mine is like, Brian, he's like, seriously, dude? He's like, it's okay for you to open something to enjoy with yourself. He's like, there is nothing wrong with that. And I've opened up more bottles in the last year and a half that I've been a part of the show than I have probably the previous 5 years in total. But like, I have loved it. I have enjoyed it. And for me, like, one of the beautiful things about whiskey is so very like fishing with a buddy. There's comfortable silence. You exist in exactly where you're at, and life is slowed down in so many ways. And you had answered like the question earlier about when was that moment. I think so. I can't remember I think it was September 2014. I'm pretty sure, and it may be August or maybe October. Jimmy Russell was the speaker at the Bourbon Society at the Henry Clay Hotel. And I remember listening to him again, and I'm like, I call bullshit on marketing, totally. And I'm listening to him. I'm like, I'm just like, I'm gaga. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, he is genuine. And this is 2014-ish, so he was a couple years younger. So he's
a couple years younger.
Yes. Yes. And I remember being there, and then the Bourbon Society had just released its Woodford Double Oaked. And that was the first time that I spent $65 or either $60 or $65 on a bottle. Yep. And I took a sip, and then I poured some for the table because that's it. So one of the cool things about what the society, I don't know what it is anymore, but like what it was about is you'd always bring a bottle or two, especially if you're a first-time visitor, you shared it with the group. I remember pouring it for people, and it was the first time that I had poured whiskey or bourbon or rye or whatever you want to call it for other people, and I poured theirs before I poured mine, and it just kind of happened that way. And I remember nosing it. I'm like, ooh. I remember taking a sip, and it's like 94.2 proof maybe.
Right.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like this, and I didn't use the word smooth. Like, so I was kind of cool back then. I'm like, this is nice. Like I get it. Like that was the moment.
Yeah.
For me, is when I had, because I had shots of it before. Like when I first met my wife, and she's from Louisville, Kentucky, and I lived near Chicago, and her and her family came in to visit. I'm like let's get a shot of bourbon.
Yep.
Yep. And we had a shot, and oh my God. Like, so when I say fire, not like, yeah, I mean, it was,
Yep.
because it was. But when I had the Woodford Double Oaked, it's wild how many people like their gateway. Yeah, their gateway. It's Woodford. It's Makers.
Yeah.
It's something that that you may have first had at a moment that you'll never forget, and that was mine for it. And dear God, like the amount of amazing people that I've met just because of this brown spirit, dude. It's fucking beautiful.
And I think that's probably the best way to end the show, is that it brings people together. You meet so many folks that you would have never met because of brown water.
And different shapes, different sizes, different financial positions, different professions. It's like a big old group of misfits that does not judge, that accepts everybody, and that you sit at a bar elbow to elbow and just enjoy. Yes,
I agree to a certain extent. I will. The only caveat I will throw that we all accept each other in the moment. After the fact, I think there are some people that do get a little judgy about certain things.
But those are the snobs,
Right?
And to me, a snob and a purist, they can't be the same thing at the same time.
That's fair.
Yep. Again, and let me tell you, as I learned when I was getting into it, I got a little snobby, and then I was embarrassed.
Oh, I got big snobby for a while.
Yep. But then it's like you meet people that know 100 times more than you know, and they didn't have to say it in order for you to realize it. And it's like, to me, it's those people. Chris Huss, he's a guy that so giving, a quality dude. He would open up any bottle for anybody if they were going to respect the whiskey. And he was somebody that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, look at the kindness that is in this. And he's one of the guys, like one of the reasons why, like, I'm like, I love it still. It's still a passion. Brought me a lot of good stuff to life.
A lot of joy.
Amen.
Well, I think that's our episode of Bourbon Barrel Talk. If you want to find us, you can find us on Facebook, the Instagram, or the X. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. That way you get our episodes as soon as they hit on Sunday morning. Email any questions to bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com. This is Scott and my boy BP signing off. Peace.
To infinity.